Yeah, these are.
Okay, so we are doing Google Apps Basics. Now, I assume most of you probably know all of this information, but all of us have been in a situation where you know a lot, but then there's potholes of things you just like, wait, how did I not know that? So if you're new to Google Apps, this is great for you. If you're not new to Google Apps, you all have something you don't know. You okay, Emily? It's the wrong way.
Oh, I just messed up with time. I was supposed to come in for office hours. You know, with the change in daylight savings, and we don't change. It's like, oh shoot. Okay.
So Emily, I've got some office hours on Wednesday, and then I also have a new thing. If you go look at the premium membership email, is that you can actually sign up for 20 minutes where it's just me and you. If you'd like to try that. Okay. So we're going to try this. We're doing Google Apps Basics. And of course, I love Google Apps, so I've got my Bitmoji on there. And I have this Google form. I linked to it in the chat for what questions do you have about Google Apps. So I am going to give you a couple of minutes to fill that out. And I will answer all the questions at the end. So if you would just take a minute to fill out the Google form. And so what it's going to do is when you fill out this Google form, it will automatically add your question to the bottom of my presentation. So when I finish with the presentation, then it will automatically go into the Q&A. So your questions will be there. And I do webinars because I'm not making a YouTube video. If I was making a YouTube video, I wouldn't invite you, I guess. So please ask me questions, interrupt me, ask me to do it again. I'm here to interact with you and not to talk to myself. So
does it add it to the meetings just on, only if you're in Google Meet, or the form sync to the slides?
So this is actually a premium feature.
Yeah.
And so this, if you go to the premium page with the premium add-ons, I think I have form to slides add-on, and you make a copy of the template. And if you use that Google form and have students fill out that Google form, it allows you in the puzzle piece to connect it to whatever slides you want so that when they respond, their responses go to the slides. Now, I have submitted this officially to Google, and I'm hoping for it to be an official add-on maybe tomorrow. Could happen. I'm not holding my breath. It is a long, painful process that makes you want to poke your eye out with a stick. So hopefully I'll get that to you where you can permanently install it. But for now, you'll just have to go to the premium page. So I'll show you how it works if you fill it out.
Okay. Do that right now. I didn't put a question. I just put, how does this work?
Okay, all right. That's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share then so you can see this.
Okay.
I'm going to go to a window. It's this one. And I'll wait for it to load.
Because I usually use just the Zoom chat, but this documents everything. So
this is way better because the problem with Zoom chat, not only does, you know, the chat doesn't make it up on the video, on the recording.
Yeah.
Right? And not everyone sees it in the chat because there's a lot of chat going on.
Yeah.
So when you fill it out in the Google form, it goes to the slides. So you see here, did I ask? No, you just put your name. I got it. Right? So you can see it's put your names on there. And here's one with a question. Now I have it going to this particular layout. That's why it looks a little funky. Usually it's bigger and centered.
Oh, so each question goes on a separate slide?
Yeah. And do something else. Submit it again.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and answer this question now since it's pertaining to the form to slides. Can you just keep using the same slide? Yes.
Oh, I didn't put my initials.
I'm using the exact same Google form for all my webinars. And all I do is in the form itself, when I go to the puzzle piece, it's Form to Slides Premium. It lets me set slides. So I just set the slides to whatever meeting I'm having now. And I just use the same form over and over and over again. And I have set automatic. So when I set automatic, then your responses go to the bottom automatic.
Okay.
If I don't set automatic, it just collects all your responses and then I send them when I want to. And it says, what slide do you want to send them to? And so then I see where to stick them. And then it will clear the responses out when you do that. So then you can just keep reusing the same Google form over and over again with all your meets.
Okay.
It's awesome. I liked it so much I submitted it to Google. So we'll see how that goes.
No, I like that because like with Google Forms, the kids also can't see the answers. So I've used Google Forms in the past and there was no interactivity with the kids. And it became very teacher dependent and I didn't like that.
Yeah, I hear that exactly. So with this particular system, it goes to the slides and then you're presenting the slides so everyone knows what question you're talking about because you're all looking at it on the screen share.
Okay.
Like it.
Dynamic. So if you, oh, it's not that one. If I go to, here's the premium page. Now what I do every week when I get the premium email is I bookmark. Do you see here it has the hamsters with the new Gmail logo? Man, that's hard to get used to. So every week I bookmark the premium content and I bookmark the link to the current week's page. Helps me to find it fast. So if you go to all premium add-ons and you come down to, I'm going to work on organizing this a little bit better now that I have a lot of stuff in here. It was fine when I only had a couple of things. Form to Slides add-on. So I'm going to go ahead and get you that. Here's the template. Actually, what would be better is if I linked you to the actual premium page for Form to Slides.
Yeah, I had it open, so I have it right now. That made a copy. Okay, cool.
We'll walk you through how to do it.
Okay, I'll try that later, and then if I have questions, I'll ask you on Wednesday.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's mostly what I wanted. Is I was having issues using the add-on for the slides for the breakout rooms, but I will come back on Wednesday.
Still working on the slides for the breakout rooms. So if you have tested it, I have not tested it as breakout rooms because I have no access to any breakout rooms. So
well, some of the push things, I wasn't sure what was supposed to happen when I was clicking it, so I couldn't figure out if I was doing it right or not. But I can come on Wednesday because I know you're doing the basics here, so I didn't want to.
That sounds good. I'll see you on Wednesday.
All right. Thank you very much. This is very helpful.
Thank you. Okay, so last one, we're just going to keep using this same link for the form. So my first Google Apps basics things that I will tell you is that this is not basic, not even close. Google Forms is the best thing since sliced bread. Google Forms is a Google app, and you should use Google Forms all of the time. And this is a more advanced use of the Google Forms where it ties in Google Forms with the Google Slides, and I've coded that. Yeah, there's that. And so this, like last week or something, 2 weeks ago, they've changed the name yet again. So originally, it was called Google Docs. And Google Docs was a generic catch-all name for Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. You remember back in the day, way back in the day, 15, 16 years ago, it was just the spreadsheet, and it was called Google Spreadsheet. And then they acquired Writely and became Google Docs. They bought two different companies that had collaborative features, and they created this. So Google Docs at the time only was Google Docs and Google Sheets. And then, of course, they've added on a presentation tool and a forms tool and these other things. And so then you would have this Google Apps. So Google Apps refers to the applications, the Google applications. That's Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Calendar, Google Drive, Google Meet. And then they did a rebranding from Google Apps where they called it G Suite. G Suite is the suite of Google tools. It is the Google applications. It is still Google Apps. It is Gmail. It is Google Calendar. It is Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Meet. And then recently they have rebranded it again, which means all my stuff needs to be redone with new logos, hence my Bitmoji here, that's now called Google Workspace. And I'd like you to understand that that is completely superfluous. You can use any of these terms and it would be totally fine. They are literally all exactly the same thing. So Google Workspace refers to the suite of Google applications that include Google Docs. It's also the Gmail. It's also the calendar. It's also the Google Meet. Any questions? So this is what the logos now look like, and 2 weeks ago what they look like. So you might be familiar with the Gmail being the white and red, which I think many of us will agree looked nicer. The frustration I'm having is the logos are so similar in color, I can't distinguish just by color anymore. But you should notice that all of your logos, your Google Drive logo, your calendar logo, and your Gmail logo now look different as of 2 weeks or less. So just be aware of that. I'm going to keep using the old logo because I have it. So the basics of Google Apps, of Google Workspace, G Suite, whatever you're going to call it, is that Google Drive is the heart of all of this. And so Google Drive is where your Google Docs documents will live. It is where your Google Slides presentations will live. It is where your Google Forms documents will live. It is where your Google Sheets spreadsheets will live. It is where your Google Sites, that's that upper left-hand corner, the purpley blue icon is Sites. It's a website. So Google has a website product. It is a Google app. It saves to Google Drive in the same way that a Google Doc saves to Google Drive. And then I have the red one there is Google Drawings. And all of these save to Google Drive. When you are in a Google Apps environment, talking about a thumb drive is literally obsolete. It doesn't make any sense. If you download and save any of these files to a thumb drive or some sort of external drive, it actually saves it either as a PDF or it saves it as an Office document, Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, one of these. These files do not exist or live outside of Drive. If you take them outside of Drive, they become a completely different file type. They are intended to be 100% in the cloud. They do have offline access. That is a capability that you can enable, but they live in the cloud, and it's just a different mindset. Using Google products, Google Workspace, Google Docs, Google G Suite, Google Apps, whatever you're going to call it. It's a lot of paradigm shifts that you just interact with it differently. One of the different things that I think is important to realize is that unlike Office, unlike Microsoft Word, unlike PowerPoint, is you don't make copies. Now there's some circumstances where you would make a copy, but that's just not how these are really intended, is that you are supposed to collaborate. These products are all designed around the idea of collaboration. And the problem is when you make a copy of something, it kills the collaboration. You're like, well, which version are we on? That whole scenario needs to die. You know, back in the day, I was the secretary for the faculty senate at my school. And so we'd have the faculty senate meetings, and I would take the notes on a Word document, and I would email the Word document to the president and to the vice president. And one of them would edit the document, edit the minutes, and send it back to me. And the other one would just send me an email back with the edits that she wanted to have made. And it's just like, that's a hot mess. How many versions, how many Word documents do we have here? I have the one on my computer, and as soon as I attach it in an email, there's now 2 other copies out there, so they download those. So now there's 3 versions. They edit it, send it back to me. That's a 4th version. And who's got the original? And if you edit on yours, it doesn't impact mine at all. So I was one of the early adopters of Google Apps almost exactly for this reason. What I would do is before the meeting, I would create a blank Google Doc and say, these are the meeting minutes. I would go to the Faculty Senate webpage and I would make a link on the Faculty Senate webpage and say, these are the minutes. Well, the meeting hasn't even started. The meeting has not started. You click on the link for the minutes and it is literally a blank document. So then while I'm sitting up there at the table in front of everybody and the president is hosting the meeting, I'm taking notes. And if anybody in the room had gone to the Faculty Senate webpage and they click on the link for the minutes, it would be blank, but then they would watch me in live time. When I type A, it immediately shows an A in live time that I'm taking the minutes. So if there's anything that's not correct, they can see at that moment that I'm not taking the notes correctly, that I'm not dictating it correctly. Because what normally happens, right, is you would write the minutes, maybe on paper, and then you'd type up the minutes. And then at the meeting a month later, you'd hand out the minutes to everybody and say, do we have any corrections to the minutes? That becomes obsolete. They watch me take it. They know it's accurate. And at the end of the meeting, I have to do nothing. Every single person in the room, including the president, including the vice president, have the minutes because it is a document that lives in the cloud. This idea of downloading, you don't download. We're just going to get rid of that vocabulary word. You link to it. The documents live in Google Drive. And if I make any updates, I haven't made a copy. If I make a copy, anyone who looked at the original would not see my updates. And so that's why we don't make copies, because Google Apps is designed for collaboration, and you kill collaboration when you make a copy. So instead, you just straight up edit the document you have. And you just keep editing the document in the same document. Now I would give edit rights to the president and the vice president. And if they had any edits that they wanted to make, instead of me having to, like, where in the minutes is this? They just make the changes. Just put it right on there. And collaboration is risk-free. This sounds awful. You're like, wait a minute. What if they deleted something? Yeah, what if they deleted something? So because Google Apps is designed for collaboration, you can tell who typed what when, and you can revert back to what it looked like before they did it. So here's a scenario that I love. I take one Google Slides presentation, which is like PowerPoint, and I share it with all of my students, and I give them edit access. And maybe one of the students deletes all the slides, or maybe one of the students changes the theme or does something to mess them up. So what? I am able to know it timestamps it and takes basically a version or a copy every few seconds. And if somebody that I'm collaborating with messes up my document, I'm able to go back into what's called the version history. I have that on a completely different slide. I'm able to go back into the version history and see which version I wanted, what it looked like before it got messed up, and I can restore it. Collaboration is risk-free. That's not true with a Word document. With a Word document, your versions are separate documents. With a Google document, your versions are all the same document, and all your versions are contained within the same file. So it is a much better scenario for collaboration, much better. So how do you create new documents? You want to remember that Google Drive is the hub. Google Drive is the hub of Google Apps. So basically, it's your home base. And so you go to Google Drive, which is drive.google.com. Go to drive.google.com, and in the upper left-hand corner, underneath this Drive logo, which you'll see is updated in the screenshot, there is a Create button. And when I click on the Create button, it says, do I want to create a folder? Do I want to upload a file? Or do I want to create a Google Doc, a Google Sheets, a Google Slides, or a Google Forms? And you should pay attention to where it says More. More, there's more That's right, because when we talk Google Apps, Docs, Sheets, and Slides are the typical ones that we think of, but Forms is a Google app, and Sites is a Google app, and Maps is a Google app. You go to mymaps.google.com, mymaps.google.com, and that will allow you to create a map that's collaborative, but it is a Google document that resides in Google Drive, and then also Jamboard, which is a whiteboarding collaboration app. All of these items are collaborative. Google Drawings is collaborative. Google Forms is collaborative, although be careful, Google Forms does not have a version history. And that can get you in a little trouble. So be careful about sharing Google Forms with edit access. But Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, Sites, and Maps, and Jamboard are all drawings, are all Google apps, and you can create all of them from Google Drive. You click the Create button, and you might need to go to the More option for more types of documents or apps. Any questions? Other ways to create new documents. Now, if you go to docs.google.com or slides.google.com or sheets.google.com or forms.google.com, it actually takes you to Google Drive. And let me take a little demo of that. I'm going to go to forms.google.com. And this is Google Drive. It's just prettier. It just looks nicer. And so when I go here to forms.google.com, it shows me the template gallery, so I can see a variety of templates that I can create with Google Forms, or I can see all of my Google Forms. And so it filters Google Drive for Google Forms, but it is Google Drive. Make no mistake about it, that forms.google.com is still Google Drive. And you want to always be on the lookout here. These are kind of some new things that are pretty universal in a lot of products, not just Google, is that your menu is a 3 lines icon. So you'll notice that when I click on this 3 lines icon that pops out this menu, I can see I can do Docs, Sheets, Slides, and Forms as my basic Google apps, but that does not embrace all of them. Google Drive contains them all. And anything that you create is automatically saved, and it's automatically saved in Google Drive, and where it lives is Google Drive, and there's no other place it can live. It cannot be anywhere else. The other one is, you ever see 3 dots? That's the More Options menu. And you should always click on it. If you see 3 dots, click on the 3 dots. What are those options that you have available to you? And then you have the Apps Chooser, which some people refer to as the waffle. And so we say Google Apps. Here you can see the applications, the apps, Google Photos, Google Earth, Google Keep. I love Google Keep. Google Keep does not save to Google Drive. Forms does. Jamboard does. And so you are able to get to a lot of your Google applications, your Google apps. This does not have all of the Google apps. You see it says More. I'm going to click on it. And you can add additional functionality. That used to have a way you could see more Google apps. This is the marketplace, which is good too. It's changing things on me. Google Podcasts, so you can see that. But the heart of it, again, is Google Drive. It is the center. You go to Google Drive, all of your files will be here. I forgot to save it. That's just not part of your vocabulary anymore. You have this new button, new folder, new Google Doc, and see there's a triangle here. So you can choose from template right from Google Drive. So this takes you to the Google Docs template gallery if you want it. Oops. Go back here to Drive. Again, you click on the new button. This is your hub. You go to More. You can see Drawings, Maps, Sites. I like to code, so Google Apps Script is a Google document. It's a Google Apps document. Jamboard is a Google Apps document. Now, Pear Deck is not a Google Apps document. It is an add-on that I have connected. So you can see you connect more apps, and I have done that. Going back to my presentation. So docs.google.com, slides.google.com, sheets.google.com, and forms.google.com are all actually Google Drive. They are just much more attractive versions of Google Drive that you can get there where it's filtered and it has the templates. Now, my favorite way to create a new document is docs.new or slides.new or sheets.new or forms.new. I can also do sites.new if you want to make a new Google site. So any of these will just quickly and easily create a new. So I'm going to do Control-T, new tab, and I'm going to do sheets.new, and it's going to make me a new Google Sheets spreadsheet. That's my favorite way to create them. Otherwise, just go to Google Drive, new spreadsheet, or go to sheets.google.com where you'll be able to create a new spreadsheet from there as well. And the best reason to use Google Apps is not losing your stuff anymore, is to not have all of those versions that the paradigm shift is I don't make copies. I don't make copies and there's no save button and it's freaky. Watch what happens when I go to my Google Drive and I type in Untitled. I have lots and lots and lots and lots of documents in my Google Drive that are untitled. I've never named them. So I have this spreadsheet right here. I am going to put a secret word, and the secret word is humdinger. I'm going to go back. I'm going to just see it now says saved to drive. You see this cloud thing? It's letting you know that is indeed saved. That's a relatively, no, that is new. That is new, that it shows you that it's saved. And it's really unnecessary, except if you have a slow internet connection, it doesn't always catch up. Or if you went offline, then it didn't save in Drive, but it will sync when you come back online. What's great about Google Drive is this search bar at the top is pretty accurate. So I'm going to search this again. It says Untitled Spreadsheet. That's the one that I have. What I'm going to do is instead of searching Untitled, I'm going to search for humdinger. Because it doesn't just search the titles, it searches the entire document. So you see I have 3 spreadsheets that have the word humdinger in it. And I actually have the same spreadsheet. This is the exact same spreadsheet. I can prove it. Let me merge these cells. I love to merge in a spreadsheet, and I'm going to put my Bitmoji in it. Don't worry about how I do this. This is not basic. Right? I just want to say you can see my Bitmoji in this spreadsheet, and then when I go to this other tab, you'll notice that it also has the Bitmoji because they're the exact same document. And I frequently will open the same document, the same Google Sites, the same Google Slides twice, the same Google Classroom twice, because Google Docs, Google Apps, Google Sheets, Google Slides, G Suite, Google Workspace lives in the cloud. And since it lives in the cloud, I can open it as many times as I want. And you're like, Alice, why would you do that? Well, one is I forgot I had it open. The other one is I'm often having a long document, or I have multiple tabs on my spreadsheet, or I have more than one class. And even if I'm in the same class, I want to be in my Google Classroom grading an assignment and also looking at the classwork page at the same time. And so by having the same Google app open multiple times, I can be in multiple places. I can be on 2 different sheets. I can be at where I'm typing in my paper, and I can be down at the bibliography at the same time, and I just toggle the tabs. And I'm much more efficient using Google Apps because it does live in the cloud, and I can have it open multiple times. I see that there is, okay, some chat, just checking that. Any questions? Okay. So no save button. I've been using Google Apps longer than some people have been alive, and it still feels weird. I feel like I should be saving, but there is no save. Now, if we're talking Google Apps basics, really basic to know is you have to know your sharing, because remember, it is all designed around collaboration. who are you collaborating? By default, nobody. And I would say that's a lie. I am always collaborating with myself. I do several things. Remember, I just showed you that I'll have the same document open up in 2 different tabs. I collaborate with myself. What is on my computer is also on my phone at the same time. So on my phone, I have the Google Docs app, I have the Google Sheets app, I have the Google Drive app, of course, I have the Google Slides app, I have the Jamboard app. And when I make an edit on my computer, it immediately shows up on my phone. And when I make an edit on my phone, it immediately shows up here. And it's pretty common. I'll be a passenger in the car as we're driving home from the grocery store or whatever. And I just get started on, like, I have an idea for the activity I want to do at school tomorrow. So I start a Google Doc and I start typing up some brainstorm ideas for my activity. And then I just do nothing. It saves automatically. There's no save button. I don't do anything. I walk in the house, I put my phone down, I go to the bathroom, and then I come over to my computer and I open up Google Drive, and hey, there's that document that was on my on my phone. It's on my phone and it's on my computer, and they're both there at the same time. I'm collaborating with myself. I like to insert comments, feedback comments to myself, where I remind myself, come back later and clean up this language, or just make it sound better. Or come back later and I just put a placeholder, like, talk about this, but I'll do it later. Just make notes to myself. I collaborate with myself. And so Google Apps is designed for collaboration, and I collaborate with myself. And by default, it is privately shared, so I can only collaborate with myself, be it through my phone or through my computer. Can't tell you how many times I'm working on my computer, and then, I have 5 kids. So it's pretty often like, Mom, we have to go. I'm like, oh, shoot. I don't do anything. There's no save button. So I just stand up and I walk out the door. It is on my computer. I don't shut down my computer. I don't save anything. I don't close anything. I walk out the door. Now I have a laptop. I open it up on my laptop, or I open it up on my phone, and there it is right there. Boom, I have it. No lag. Well, depends on your internet access, but it's in real time. I have the exact access to it, and I edit it on my phone while I'm sitting on the sidelines at a soccer game for my kids, and then I come home and it's still up on my computer, and I just start typing away on it, and I don't have to do any effort. It's beautiful. But do notice that in the upper right hand corner of Google Doc Sheets and Slides is a share icon, and the default is this padlock. Google Forms is slightly different, and I should just do a whole presentation just on Google Forms basics, because it is a little bit different in how it shares. It does not have a share button. It has an add collaborators option, which is different. But you should be looking for that.
Real quickly, Alice, if a teacher wants to share a Google form with me, does she just add me as a collaborator?
That's a bad idea.
How come?
And that is a bad idea because unlike Google Docs, unlike Google Sheets, and unlike Google Slides, there's no version history. So if I share with you my slides right now, and I give you edit access, and you go and you change my theme and you delete some of my stuff, on accident, of course. I'm like, whatever. And I am able to go to the version history and repair it.
But for forms, you can't.
Forms, you can't. So if she deletes your question or she changes your question, you are up a creek. So the way to share a form is to create a folder in Google Drive.
Sure.
And you change the sharing permissions on the folder to anyone can view.
And then
you put the form in the folder. Now, this is not a basic. It's not even close to being a basic. There's a trick where you can take the link of a Google Doc, a Google Sheets, or Google Slides, or a Google Form, and you change the end of the URL from /edit to /copy. So the default is /edit. You change the edit to copy, and then you give the link that ends in /copy to whoever, and it'll prompt them to copy the form. And that's how you would share a copy of a form. Because of data privacy, it's a little trickier to share a form because we don't want to share the data that goes with the form.
But
So
what if the teacher just wanted you to look at it quick to make sure it was okay?
Well, I would have them have you fill it out.
Okay.
Yes, they can share you as a collaborator where you have editing access, and it's just a matter of trust.
Right.
And the trust is probably a little less on how much of a jerk the person is, Let's assume they're not, but
Yeah, no, it was a friend.
skill levels vary, and just out of accidental, like whoops, I didn't know, I didn't realize.
Right.
So if you do share a form, if you give edit access to your form, you might want to share it with threats of death. Don't edit anything. If you need to change something, let me know.
Okay.
You can give them view only access to the edit portion. You can let them view, like they can fill out the form and see it from the preview or the fill out the form view. But then if you have any hidden sections or some of the data validation or any of these things, you wouldn't be able to check any of that, any of the features, right?
Thank you.
So it's just trust.
Can I just add, though, sometimes I've shared, and I thought I was sharing because I would make a Google Classroom and I would share the things that I thought would be that they could just look at it. But sometimes in Google Classroom, it does different things. So if your teacher group is using a Google Classroom, it gets weird. So just share it.
Because what happens is when you share a document in Classroom, it automatically changes the sharing permissions. And so this has happened to me multiple times, is that I have shared out with the premium group or just on Twitter some directions document that I have. But then I also put it into a Google Classroom in a workshop that I was doing. And so then my view only access was usurped and it became access to the Google Classroom, whereas my previous access was anyone can look at it. And people are like, I don't have access. That is true. So in those cases, they send me a request for access and I change the settings back to anyone can view. But here's a little hack if you want it, Emily. So you go into Google Drive and you find the folder in Google Drive for Google Classroom, and you just change the folder to anyone can view. And that helps. That helps somewhat, but it does help. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. I can find the button. Here we go, a window. And I'm going to present. So in that button in the upper right-hand corner, you would click share so that you can change your sharing. And one of my favorites is anyone with a link can view. And you'll notice that the icon now, instead of having a lock on it, now has a man with a link. It's letting you know that it is shared. How is it shared? It doesn't give you that good of information. If you're sharing with your school, it's actually a picture of a building. So if you're saying, okay, you can look at this, but you have to be on the same domain, the same email account, like @myschool.com. So when you change the sharing, and initially would change it to share with your school, and then you have to manually go in and do anyone with the link. So it looks like this. I'll wait for the animation to run. So by default, it says restricted. You click on where it says change link. It now has a building, and you click on where it has your school name so you can switch it from the building to anyone. Anyone has a little globe icon, and then it's giving them view access. So when you share the link that they can view the document, you would then change that from viewer to either editor or commenter, where they can comment only but not edit. So those are some of your options. So you have the option to view, comment, or edit. So I'm not sharing just the generic link, if you're sharing the generic link. The other way to do it is up at the very top. If you don't want to share generically, you want to share with someone specifically. Wait till this animation comes back. You see where it says add people in groups up at the top there? And so you would just type in their email address and share with their email address. Now, when I have a folder, and you'll notice that in my graphic here, I have the man icon with the link that my folder is shared is anyone with the link can view, or anyone at my school can view, or shared with a specific person. I've shared the folder in some way. And I've created a Google Doc, and by default, you see that the Google Doc is private. My Google Doc has the padlock icon on it. And when I put the Google Doc, and when I say Google Doc, it is a generic term for Google Document, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Forms, Google Maps, Jamboard, any of these works the same way. When I put it in the folder, it is going to inherit the sharing permissions of the folder. So now it's subtle. Do you see here on my documents that it has the padlock? And when I put it in the folder, it now has the man with the link. So one of the tricks to using Google Drive is to create folders and set sharing permissions on the folders, and then either create documents in the folder or move the documents into the folder in Google Drive so that the sharing, you know who it's shared with. So if I'm working with my 4th grade team, I need the 4th grade team to have access to all of my 4th grade documents. And, you know, my son's school has 8 kids, or not 8 kids, 8 teachers per grade level. So that means you got to type in 8 people's email addresses every time to share it with them, although you can make a group and share with the group. But if you just make a folder and share it with the folder with these 8 people, and then whatever you put in the folder is automatically shared with these 8 people, and you don't have to think about it. Because how often do you create a document and it's private, it has the padlock icon, and you share the link, and they're like, I don't have access. Even though I am darn good at using Google Apps, I make that mistake constantly. I think just even this last week on my premium newsletter, I did it. It's too easy to do. It's annoying. I feel dumb. It's like, I know better.
Alice, when you share the link that and anyone can view, they can't edit it, but they can make a copy of it, right?
Well, that would be slightly more advanced, but you can, yes, the answer is yes. At a basic level, the answer is yes. They can use the file menu and make a copy.
Okay.
However, when you share the links, you can also restrict their ability to make copies. So there is a little settings cog on that share screen.
Yeah.
So look, we see the little cog
Mm-hmm.
on the upper right. If you click on that cog, it allows you to choose whether or not they can make copies and whether or not they can add editors. So we want to collaborate when we share a document. So this icon you'll see here is not shared with anyone with the link. I've shared it with a very specific person. And you'll notice there's no link icon. But there is a share icon, so I know it's shared with somebody or buddies, but it's not generically shared. So notice the slight changes in the icons. It says share with a padlock, it says share with a link icon, and I have share with, yes, this man without a link.
Sorry, if I have files in a shared folder,
Yes.
but I want one of those files to be shared specifically with someone that's doesn't have access to the whole folder.
Yes. Okay. So if I have a folder and it's shared with the 8 teachers on the 8th grade team, and I have a Google Doc that is shared with the principal. So I have access to this Google Doc. The principal has access to the Google Doc. Otherwise, it's private. Yeah. And then I take this Google Doc and I put it in this folder with the 8 teachers. It does not remove the principal's access. The principal still has access to it. So now it's shared with, I guess, technically 10 if I had it with the other 8, right? So anyone who explicitly shared with continues to be shared. If it is in the folder, it is shared automatically with the 8 teachers on the 4th grade team. And I then add to the document, but not the folder, the principal will have access to it. If I remove the document from the folder, those 8 teachers will lose access, but the principal will continue to have access. So anyone that you explicitly share a document with, those sharing rights move with it. Whereas if it is more of a inherited sharing because of the folder, then if it's no longer in the folder, the sharing discontinues.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm trying to think if there's also, I've got the document in the folder shared with the 8 teachers of the 4th grade team. And then I'm like, but I don't want to share with them. I go to the share button, it shows it's shared with these 8 people, and I X them out. I remove, 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 remove. They've actually changed it. It's now remove, not an X. It used to be an X. So I can override the folder's inherited sharing also and leave it in the folder. Okay. If you want to be a jerk, you're like, I'm just not sharing with this teacher. And you can just remove the one teacher. She doesn't have access. You can do that.
Thanks.
Yes, absolutely. And I think another basic thing to really understand is that Google Docs are about collaborating, which means we need to have comments and interact on them. And there's several ways to make these comments, and I'm going to demonstrate this. I would like to make a comment on this text box on the Google Slides. So I select the text box. Now I can go to the insert menu. Is it insert? Yes.
Oh, we can't see your slide, Alice.
Of course not. That would be ridiculous to be able to see my slide. And how about this? I'm going to present again. Thank you. All right, we're going to comment on a document. Commenting on docs, sheets, and slides. You cannot comment on forms. You cannot comment on Jamboard. You can comment on drawings. And the way that that looks here in a Google Slides, I can use the insert menu and it gives me the option to comment. And you see it puts this comment box off to the side. It looks the same in docs, sheets, or slides. And I could say, hey, I think this is hard to read. Change the font color. And if you want, you can mention somebody. So I'm at the keeler@gmail.com. That's not a real email address. And I can assign it to them if it's a to-do list item. If you would like to be like, this is actionable for you, you can assign it to someone. You can also use a keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to select on this graphic and I'm going to Control Alt M. It's Command Option M on a Mac. Control Alt M. And you see I was able to get Control Alt M, inserts the comment. Control Enter saves it. If you come up to the top of any of your documents, you'll see you have a comment history, and you can see all of the comments for the entire document, the entire slides, the entire spreadsheet. Then look around for them because your document might be long or your spreadsheet has many tabs. So this comment history up here is incredibly helpful. And we can resolve them. I guess they got rid of the resolve button. Now it's a check mark. Oh boy. Check it. All right. So, and that is still available. I can see that those comments still exist up in the comment history, but now that they are kind of saved or archived. So I like to use the keyboard shortcut, but you can right click to insert a comment. You can use the insert menu to use a comment, or you can use the keyboard shortcut. Once I have made some edits on my document and I have invited someone to collaborate with me by clicking on the share icon and either entering their email, no, this is the only way to do it. If I enter their email, I can use the file menu in Docs, Sheets, and Slides to email collaborators. So when I am reviewing student work after I'm done giving feedback, I use file email collaborators to ensure that the student knows that I have given them feedback. And what's great about email collaborators is it always includes automatically the link to the document in the email. If you ever want someone to look at your document, you should always 100% of the time, without exception, include the link. Like, well, they have access to it. That's true, but they're going to have to go look for it, which they will do later, and later never comes. I also like email as attachment. If I'm working with people who don't use Google Apps, I know it's true. Some people don't use it. I use email as attachment, and I can attach it as either a PDF or, depending on the product, I can attach this as a PowerPoint. I can attach a Google Doc as a Word document, and I can attach a Google Sheets as an Excel document. So I can, if someone is using Microsoft Office and they legitimately do not have a Google Apps account, I would just email it to them as an attachment. And when you choose download, remember I said there's no such thing as download. What it does is it converts it to a different type of document. It converts it to a PDF or converts it to PowerPoint or Word or one of these things. And notice it has at the bottom here of this file, this is not the bottom of the file menu, but the bottom of my screenshot of the file menu is to make it available offline. So if you think that you'll be not on internet access when you go to edit it later, you might want to choose to file make available offline. You can also go into Google Drive and go to the settings of Google Drive and turn on offline access that may or may not be defaulted for you. So you might need to do that manually to allow you to access your files if you don't have internet access. Obviously, any features of Google Apps that require internet, like inserting photos from the web, well, that won't work offline. But there's many things that do work offline, and it's quite lovely. And they work on your phone, and you can work on your phone offline, which again is quite lovely. And the best part about Google Apps, and I've already talked about it, and now I see probably should have put it up higher in the list, but I'm going to say it probably belongs here, is version history. So in docs, sheets, and slides, and drawings, you go to the File menu and you find version history. It automatically saves every few seconds. So if I type something, it'll save it as a version. If I type something else, it'll save as a version. And so if I I made all these changes and I changed the colors and the fonts, then I'm like, I just don't really like this. I can go to the version history. It says see version history. I can see all of these versions that were automatically created, and I can restore it back to a previous version. But it's a lot easier if you manually do it. You can force a version by going to version history, name the current version, and you give it a name. So when I make a major edit, I go to name the current version so that if I feel like I need to revert back to that state, it's easier to find. I use the same Google Doc for my syllabus for the last 10 years. Remember what I said? Don't make copies. Just keep editing. Just keep editing. So it says, fall 2019. And then I just go in, I change it to spring 2020. Yeah, right? Fall 2019. The next one would be spring 2020. I just edit the doc and I name the version syllabus spring 2020. And I'm able to find all of my syllabi for the last 10 years, all in the version history, all in the same place because I don't make copies. I don't make copies. Okay, so any questions you might have, you want to fill out on the form, you can obviously just ask me manually, but what fun is that? Where did my switch tabs? I'm going to link this in here. And so I'll go ahead, if you will fill out the form, which is of course a Google app. I have coded it, which is not basic, to automatically go into my slides. So your questions, the best way to share a link so everyone can see it, I would email it to them. Unless you have some sort of a group website or document where you can link to it, email is probably the best way to share out the link. Does the Google site utilize memory capacity the same as Google Classroom? So Google Sites, Google Classroom, Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides take up no space in your Google Drive. They take up no space in your Google Drive. The only thing that takes up space in your Google Drive is videos, Word documents, PowerPoints, PDFs, non-Google apps. Google apps take up no space. So if you add things like resources to Google Classroom or resources to a Google site, it actually is just linking them from Drive. They don't exist in these places. They just link to it. So your site and your Google Classroom actually take up no space. They are simply linking back to Google Drive. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I know that Emily left. I have a totally separate code that I've made to have slides for breakout rooms, and I will talk about that another time. That's not a basic. I have no knowledge of anything, and even if I did, I wouldn't be able to tell you because I would be under NDA. So it is totally pointless to ask me about features that are coming out. I don't know, and even if I did, I couldn't tell you. And you'll notice that that was the end of my slides. I'm in present mode in my slides, and as you answered the Google form, it created additional slides, but in present mode, it doesn't update until I escape and relaunch. So there actually is one more slide. Don't we all need help organizing our Google Drive? You want to first, I did a webinar relatively recently that your Google Drive is a hot mess. And my basic suggestion is you make one folder in your Google Drive and you drag everything into that folder and start over. And then as you use documents that you've used in the past, as you then organize them as you need to, where you want them, and just let the past be the past and move forward. And this, if you master searching in Google Drive, it really solves pretty much all of your problems. When you're in Google Drive, you see it has this search icon at the top, and I can click on this tiny triangle to search Drive, and allows me to create a lot of great filters. So one of my best tips to give you is if you have any document you think you will ever touch ever again, you will touch this again, you'll notice in the document you can star it, and you should. If you think you will ever open this again, star it. That way when you filter, you go into Google Drive and you search for starred. So I click the little tiny triangle in the search bar and I click on starred. Now only documents I actually care about will show up. Huge time saver, huge. Okay.
Alice?
Yes?
Why do you, because I saw in other videos that you sometimes, when you have a slide, okay, in a Google Classroom assignment, why do you give edit permissions to all the students? Aren't you afraid they're going to make a big mess?
Sure. And then I have version history and I put it back. Who cares? But I want to collaborate with my students. I want to be student-centered instead of teacher-centered. So a presentation without edit access is a teacher presentation. So when I give students edit access, they get to have input. I ask a question, they add a slide, they type on it, we interact together. And I teach them how to collaborate, which is not a skill you're born with. So yeah, they delete the slides and they change the theme and they do all kinds of things you expect kids to do. And the key is keep your calm. If you get upset, then it's funny and they'll keep doing it. But you have conversations about digital citizenship, what it looks like to collaborate, and collaboration is a 21st century skill, and we have to teach them how to do it. Just like in preschool and in kindergarten, I teach them how to line up at the door, and it's rough work getting them to stand quietly and not poke each other. And we just try it, and we try it again, and it's something and even by high school seniors, we're still reminding them to behave themselves and stand nicely in line, and to walk quietly. We don't ban them from walking in line, and we don't ban them from collaborating. We continue to persevere in teaching. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.